guys, so I'm not really making a video today. I just came to drop off some stuff that I'm going to need when I do get out here. I wanted to make a video about project fatigue. I think it's something that a lot of guys go through for various reasons, and I'll kind of get into those here in a little bit. But it's been about 6 weeks since I made a video, and I was out here in December. I had 10 days off, and the second day I actually made it out here. It's about a 49 to 50-minute drive to get out here. I plugged in the heater because it was cold. As it was going, I disconnected the windshield wipers, the actuating rods, disconnected the master cylinder from the brake pedal, realized that I didn't have any wrenches to disconnect the brake lines, and just then the heater went out. As I was disconnecting the canister for the heater, I started to load it up in my truck, and even though there's a town about 5 miles out that way, I could have probably got a new canister. When I loaded it in the truck, I knew I wasn't gonna come back out here. I went home thinking that in the next few days I'd come out, but I didn't. I just had no desire or ambition to come out. And since then, I've just been kind of hanging around and thinking about where I'm at and what I'm gonna do from this point forward. I had a simple plan. You know, if you go back to my shiny video, I don't know if I mentioned it there, but the plan was buy the Satellite, which was a really nice car. I checked that thing out very well before I bought it. When I got it home, I knew I was going to put black steel wheels on it. The guy had already had a Roadrunner hood that was painted to match the car, so I just went ahead and put that hood on the car, put the black wheels on the car, and then I was going to sell my Harley, and the money I got from selling my Harley was going to be used to buy a 440, a 727, and put a sure grip in the car, and then I was going to have pretty much what I always wanted. Was like a 69 or 68 Roadrunner. That's one of my favorite body styles of all time. But as fate would have it, you know, you go on Craigslist and you look and you find engine blocks that people want about $750 to $1,000 for. You're going to have to rebuild it. You find an engine that's rebuilt, but then you're curious on whether or not it was rebuilt properly. And then you buy some that are supposedly running engines, and you're going to have to rebuild them. So I was getting frustrated, and I had a fixed amount of money I wanted to spend on a 440, and I came across a Craigslist ad, and I'll show you a picture. So that picture is of the mud truck that my engine originally came out of. You can go back in my earlier videos, Idiot's Guide to my 512 stroker. The story behind that engine is the guy had a 383, he had the tunnel ram, the stealth heads on it. It was built pretty healthy. He blew it up. But then he decided to go big. He bought a 400 block, bought a 440 source 512 stroker kit. He had a guy completely rebuild the bottom end, and then they switched over all the parts onto the 512. Of course, the stealth heads didn't breathe very well for the engine. He had a roller cam in it. I think it was like a 670 lift. He had stealth aluminum roller rockers. He had a gear drive in it. A lot of stuff with the tunnel ram and the Predator carbs, and as badass and as cool as that engine was, and for every reason that I fell in love with that engine, I realized that I'm back in that same predicament. So supposedly he had just started the engine and ran it a couple times, never had the mud truck out, never took it out to mud truck it. But anyway, so he took the engine out of the truck and decided to sell it. He got married, bought a new house, and was getting ready to pass his project on down the line. So I purchased that from him. I realized that I still needed someone to kind of go through the engine. I was kind of curious about some different things, and I was calling around looking for engine builders, and I came across Gary Hedden. First time I talked to him, I knew I wanted him to build my engine. The guy started telling me stories. He'd already built a 512 that made 687 horsepower. I told him, hey, I'd like to have 500 to 600 horsepower, and he goes, yeah, we'll get 700. And I was like, well, I was thinking about 500 to 600. He goes, yeah, 700. So I sold all the parts off of that 440. I sold the heads, the tunnel ram, the Predator carbs, the cam, the roller rockers that went with the cam, and the roller lifters, the gear drive, pretty much everything except for the short block. Gary disassembled that, made sure everything was balanced, and then I got one of the first sets of the TrickFlow 270 heads that came out, and I made a dyno video showing what Gary did with that. And yeah, I made 723 horsepower. But that's a problem. You know, you have 723 horsepower that you're going to put into basically a bone stock 1968 Plymouth Satellite that was originally engineered to have a 318. So I got all crazy, hopped up on the horsepower and everything. So I thought, you know, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna like build my satellite into a monster. So I started looking at subframe connectors, thinking for sure I was gonna have to put a roll bar in it. Toyed around with the idea of having it mini tubbed. Everything you would need to kind of handle that kind of power. Also, I was going to need a transmission. I was going to need a rear end that could handle that much power. Basically, re-engineer the whole car. And luckily, Gary was kind of behind on some projects, and he wasn't able to get the satellite in right away. And it gave me plenty of time. I think I had about 3 to 6 months there where I was sitting around driving my satellite thinking, man, this is such a nice car. I mean, I love the stock interior. I really didn't want to do anything to upset that car. I still plan to put a 440 in it because I'm a jerk and I'm going to take out the original 318. But I want to really scale things back. I just want to make that a nice cruiser like I originally intended. Well, then there I am with that engine, and I bought the complete fuel system, the Caltrax, the spring relocator kit, everything I needed, and I wasn't going to use it, or I had to come up with another plan. And that's the reason I call my car Plan B. I call the Coronet Plan B because, you know, that's basically what it was. I saw it on Craigslist. I think I was even talking to Jed Scott of Scott Speed Shop on the phone when I was thinking about buying it. And maybe it's because of that, it was the reason that I was inspired by it. The Coronet was pretty clapped out. I knew it had rust in the rear frame rails and the front torsion bar core support, so it was going to need some love. And every square inch of the car is beat, got a dent or something like that. But surprisingly, the understructure of the car, other than the frame rail, was solid. The floor pans are solid, the trunk pans are pretty solid, and surprisingly, a pretty good car. But once again, I had a simple plan. I'm just going to take my drivetrain and all the components and my transmission and everything and just drop it into the Coronet the way it looked and have a badass, ratty muscle car that would probably run tens. But once again, things happen in the shop. The car gets delayed. I move it over here. I'm sitting here looking at it. And like I said, I really like my stuff shiny. I like nice things. So first, I'm just going to take the front clip off the car so that we can paint the entire engine compartment brand new, factory F5 green, and then install the new hardware and everything up front of the car, and then make sure everything underneath was clean. But I've got like a powder-coated tank sink tank that I bought for the satellite. Everything that I was going to put on this car is so nice, and you know, even though it'd be pretty awesome still to have everything up front underneath the car be super clean and everything underneath the car being new and shiny and state of the art, I got to thinking, man, I'm so close to making the car nice, you know. One of the tripping factors was once it got pushed outside of Gary's, all the bare metal that he was welding started to flash rust. So with all the rust that was building up, the best way to give him a better welding points and to be able to finish everything up was to have the car media blasted. Well, if I'm going to pay to have the underneath of the car media blasted, might as well pay to have the rest of the car media blasted. And if I'm going to have the rest of the car media blasted, I might as well put on the new quarter panels. First, I was just going to take those 68 quarter panels in the background there, and then we were just going to make patches. Then it got to the point where, you know, I think I'll just buy 1970 quarter panels, which I did, and I'm waiting for those to be shipped. Well, now I'm putting new quarter panels on it. I got some decent doors. I got one fender that's really solid and one that's kind of iffy. How much would it take to just make the body nice? You can see where this is going. You know, you start thinking, you get a little bit of time, you think again, and every time I stop and think about the car and where I want to go with it, I kind of make things way more complicated for myself. But I'm staying the course. I really do have a plan for this car. I am going to follow through with it. I just got this, getting ready to jack the car up on jack stands, install this stuff underneath so that I I've got to drop the rear end and the cowl drive bars and the suspension in the back, take that all off. And then I got to take the entire front suspension off. Then the car will be on rollers. I'm debating on taking the doors off and having those media blasted separately. I'm gonna do like DD Speed Shop. I'm gonna splice my quarter panels. I'm not gonna go as much as I think that they're gonna go when they're gonna put on the new quarter panels, but I'm gonna expose the areas of the inner and outer wheelhouse and everything so that that can all get media blasted. Right now, it looks like I'm gonna need new trunk drop-offs. There's a structural part behind the rear bumper there that is bent from the car being pushed with a tractor out of a field, so that one's probably gonna need to be replaced. Then the new quarters, the doors aren't too bad, probably get those fixed. And anyway, so that's all stuff that's made things where, once again, I am at the point where I was with the original Satellite. I've got a ton of parts to make this car nice. I've got money saved up to kind of make that happen, but I'm a good ways from having this car actually on the road and drivable. So, when it's cold out, it hasn't been super cold here in Minnesota, but the other day it was like 18 degrees, and the thought of coming out here and jacking the car up and getting it ready to go to get blasted just wasn't thrilling me. And I've been sitting back and watching a lot of other YouTubers, and then just kind of like, I'm just going to step back. I'm going to take some time. But now I'm going to be back at it. I probably won't get much done this week. I've already wasted most of it. But I do plan on my next week I have off. I get one off every month. I'm going to get out here, put this car on here, load it on the trailer, and actually take it off to get media blasted. I know I've been saying that forever. There's different things. The guy that I called didn't have an opening till mid to late January anyway, so that's where we're at right now. So if I hustle, I can get it into him before he takes in some other projects. But yeah, a lot of it's waiting for other people to do stuff for me, which I know is not interesting for a lot of you YouTubers out there. So I don't expect anyone to subscribe to my channel. I'm very happy for those that do. I really enjoy the comments from some of my favorite people out there. I love going on the live chats of other channels that I have in common with people, the friendships and stuff that I'm making. But I am going to get back on this car. Sorry for this boring talky talk video, but I just thought I'd kind of let you know how things can kind of steamroll really quickly. If you have a plan for a car, stick with it. Don't change your mind. Just be focused and just make it happen. I think that's what Roadkill kind of talks about. David Freiberger's like, you don't have to get it right, just get it running. I'm in the opposite category. I want to make it right, so it's not running. Anyway, another thing I want to show you, I am collecting a lot of t-shirts. But I was pretty excited. I got this in the mail from the guys, Bad Tree Productions. Pretty cool banner. I'm going to hang that in the background. I'm going to start collecting other stuff. I love this idea of this banner, but I'm going to start hanging stuff up here in the garage, kind of make it a fun, cool place, and hopefully inspire me, because I really would like to get together with some of you YouTubers out there and do some racing. I know like Michigan Muscle Car and Snydertron 3000 is thinking about doing sort of a mini, really small group of guys type drag week thing. Maybe it'll only be like 1 or 2 days or 1 or 2 tracks, but they're going to try to get that going this summer if everything opens up, and that would be something I'd really like to take part in. Iowa's not too far for me, so I could zip down to some of those tracks down there. A lot of big plans, not a lot of big do on my part, but we'll get there. Thanks for listening to me ramble for about 20 minutes. This is probably the longest video I've ever made. Thanks, guys.